Dave came out with a blog. Dave is going backwards in the Hollis universe timeline. He is Doctor Strange of the Hollis verse, and is going back in time to Rachel's roots and going to be posting a blog, he did post a blog. It's his first one. Week 1. So this is a bi-weekly or multiple week update. I can't wait. I cannot wait to read Dave Hollis's life week by week. Lordy, lordy, look who's much past 40. It's Dave Hollis with another picture of him in a field. Okay, so this is posted May 23rd, so yesterday, on his website, MrDaveHollis.com, not to be confused with MrsMcGonagall.org, .hp. That's two different things. So it's a little long. It's a little bit, if you've already heard the podcast that he did with I almost called him John Asaf. John Acuff and Heidi, the 2 episodes with Heidi on the Rise Together podcast, which still is not on Spotify. It's gone from Spotify. It's only available, so it seems, at least for me, Apple Podcasts and probably like Google Podcasts, if that's still going on. Okay, so this was a direct link from the email, basically, because he's giving out these emails. We can look at that real quick, just in case there is something juicy in that, but I'm not thinking so. I'm not thinking anything juicy came out of that email other than the link to read his blog, but just to be sure, and by the way, if you weren't here last time, I had reached out to Dave through his email and basically asked him to do an interview with me because, he had said in his podcast with Heidi that he wanted to educate the haters. That was part of his life plan. So I was like, yo, I'm ready to be educated in a nice way. I said it much more professionally than that, but that was the gist, and no response. No response. Okay. So that's the update there. Okay, so here it goes. I got this 4 hours ago in my email. The the subject is, I made a blog, weird flex, but okay. So Dave is like Gen Z, if you didn't know. He is Gen Z all the way. He also has a TikTok account. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it might be someone else's TikTok account, but they used his name, and it has his picture on it. So just to show you that I'm not lying.
Good morning, Miss Boston CEO.
Oh no. Uh-oh. It's showing me funny TikToks. Mr. Dave Hollis, as he would say. He has 0 followers. And no bio yet. There's his Mr. Dave Hollis. Dave Hollis 567. Don't know. Can't see anything that he's done. Can't see who he's following. I mean, it might be a fake account, but I did come across it, and it looks like he's got the same username, so who knows. Anyways, okay, back to the email. Happy Tuesday, beautiful people. I hope the weekend found you connecting with your people. Okay. Finding some way to rest and refuel, and for you parents out there, keeping the wheels on the bus as it careens to the end of the school year. 3.5 days of school left in this camp, and all I can think of are these poor teachers who have to survive the madness of kids who no longer care about much of anything other than summer break. Thoughts and prayers. He is so funny. Oh my God, Dave is such a hoot. As mentioned in last week's email, I can officially add blogger to my LinkedIn profile. Never thought I'd say that out loud, or that I'd be such an early adopter of these new trends. Okay, agreed. At least he's aware. I mean, I almost titled this email 2009 Called and Wants Its Blog Back. Okay. Come on, Dave. Cut the jokes. This is a serious platform. Blogging is not for jokes. Joking aside, the hope of a blog is to do some longer form writing as a way to stay connected. Feels right. It's going to be that place where I'll drop the observations of this messy, imperfect journey we call life, and tries to leave you with something that makes you think or laugh or feel a little more normal with your own mess, and hopefully relating a little to mine. Okay, once again, this is Dave's new brand. He is #relatable. He is the newfound relatable.
I want to be relatable.
That is Dave. That's Dave's voice. The first entry is a bit of a catch-up on the wild and crazy roller coaster of the past few years, the highs and lows of these last few months. Just click the link, then hit the picture of me staring longingly off into space. So dramatic. He's self-aware. Oh my God, everybody. Okay, so we'll click there. That's what we just clicked on. Listen of the week. Thursday's episode of the Rise Together podcast was with my friend Lisa Bilyeu. If you want to know about Lisa Bilyeu a little bit, we went pretty deep. It was like a 4-hour live stream on cringefluencers from last week on Thursday. It's there now if you'd like to watch it. And we basically talk about Lisa's new book, because Lisa has been everywhere in all the podcasts lately. She was actually on Rachel's today. But they talked, so Dave and her talked Thursday. Okay, Lisa is one of the coolest people I know and has so many stories in her journey from housewife to co-founding of the billion-dollar company Quest Nutrition. Is that true? Sources say unsure. But that's a video for a different day. The role she has as president of Impact Theory, or the work she fabulously does among other things as the host of Women of Impact. Lisa, okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's it for this week. Sending love to you all. Next time, we'll dive into the wisdom that comes from my 100-year-old Grandma Lee, who with a recent cancer diagnosis is confronting the end of her journey in the same way she lived through all of what this last century brought her way. Not even over yet. With a lot of faith, gratitude, and peace. Until then, be well. XO Dave. So his sign off is be well. Rachel's is I love you and I'm rooting for you. And Heidi's is be well, I love you, I'm rooting for you. Here's my booty glute workout you've been asking for. And also here's my children. That's Heidi's send off. Okay. That was a joke. That was a joke. Thank you. All right, so now let's go to the blog. I already had it pulled up, but the whole experience is exciting. Okay, new blog, week 1, catching you up. Hi, friends. Thanks for being here and for the interest in staying connected while I spend a bit of time away from social media. Yeah, that's bullshit, because he's on Heidi's social media every 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds, he's on Heidi's social media. In bed with his child, with her. I do have that screenshot. I did not blur his face, so I don't want to show it. But Heidi is on another level with her overposting her children. Her children, and now, once again, Dave's children. That's, I guess, all I have to say about that at this time. All right, here we go. Hi, friends. Thanks for being here and for the interest in staying connected while I spend a bit of time away from social media. Lies. Okay. I'm just so incredibly grateful for the support that's come from this community over time, not just in the last few months, but in the wild ride that's been this past 5 years from California to now. Your notes and prayers have been an incredible source of strength, and I'm just so appreciative of you all. He's not saying y'all anymore because he mentioned California. That's why he's not in the Texas y'all. Where, oh, where do we begin? Where, oh, where do we begin?
Why do you follow me if you don't already own my book?
Where, oh, where do we begin? Okay. Well, in not knowing when you've come in on this journey or how much you are up to speed on life, I think I'll start with a little update on how I'm doing and how I got here. Okay, we've already heard this 17 times, but all right, let's read it again. Let's hear it again, Dave. To the former, I'm doing well. Much better, healthier, content, Good days and bad, just like the rest of you. Just like the rest of you.
I want to be relatable.
But in a really good headspace. Wait, okay, the whole sentence doesn't read well together. Good days and bad days, just like the rest of you, but in a really good headspace. So I'm just like the rest of you, except I'm in a really good headspace, unlike you, bad headspace people. Moving at a wildly slower pace, more focused on intentional time with the people I love most, especially Jackson, Sawyer, Ford, and Noah, who all look like full-grown adults now. Okay, Noah is 5, so that's not true. And Ford is 9 or 10. I can't remember. But he's under teenage years. More than anything, I find myself grateful for the way 2022 has unfolded, even if I didn't love the way it began. You weren't saying that at the beginning of 2022. I use an app that counts the number of days since I last had a drink, which is a new part of my life. It reads 4 months, 17 days. I plan to have it counting forever, but I am only focused on today. It was back on January 4th that I'd come off a rough week that started with me away from my kids for the first time on Christmas Day and ended with me looking down the opening of an empty bottle. Ooh, okay. The 4th, January 4th. Okay, if I remember correctly, that's when he was with Heidi in Newport Beach, California, with his kids and her kids, and they had 2 separate Airbnbs, and it was like a whole thing, or like at least one Airbnb, and one was like her parents' house or something, or her mom's house, something like that. And there was a video, of course, Heidi outs him constantly. There was a video of him sleeping on New Year's Eve, like sleeping early before midnight. And everyone was like, what is this about? And then there was also a run-in with the police that Dave had allegedly gone down the wrong side of the road or something. There was like a bunch of stuff happening around that period of time. Yeah. So that's all I remember about that. Not a good long-term plan, trust me. Oh, wait. I didn't finish that. Sorry. Okay. Again, it was the end of a long, exhausting, very dark 3-month window where my worst insecurities spoke loudest through the voice of a mercilessly mean inner critic and a return to my great source of shame to numb the pain away. Okay. Not a good long-term plan. Trust me. I do. To the latter, on my most recent episode of the Rise Together podcast on May 12th and May 9th, I described some of how the shitburger of an October through December season was born out of something unexpected around my last book. I don't know what he says. What the frick does this mean? He says this multiple times. I always try to understand what the hell he's talking about. Okay. I described some of how the shitburger of an October through December season was born out of something unexpected. Okay. Around my last book release in late October. It turns out some of the seeds that get planted in trauma from divorce just take a little bit longer to break through the soil. I digress. I'm getting ahead of myself. I think every single person on earth except for you, Dave, is very aware of that you don't just get over a 20-year marriage within a month. But as a self-help expert, we look to you for more advice. Okay. If you're newer here, once upon a time, I was married to a woman named Rachel, with whom I have 4 amazing kids. In 2017, while I was still working at Disney, and she at a small media company she founded, we decided her superpowers as a visionary and my special set of skills as an integrator, she'd cast the what and I'd help figure out the how, could be combined in Avengers fashion were we to work together. Okay. It's very hard to read. I'm sorry. I'd come through a midlife moment where, having reached a place I'd been pushing toward for 20 years in Hollywood, the existential questions of, is this it? Fused with the belief in a vision for the mission ahead, pushing against a lifetime of pragmatic wiring and a love for certainty, I disrupted a life that was pretty good on paper for the chance for what I believed would be something far greater. Oh boy, that was quite the word salad there. I read this already, so he does bring up word salad again. But I mean, come on, is that the best way to say that? Just like, yeah, have someone look at this. Okay, so basically he's saying like, I had a midlife crisis and she needed help at the one time I had a midlife crisis, so it made sense to jump ship. Okay, got it. The hope that impact might deliver more meaning, something that felt like it mattered more. And so in January of 2018, I gave notice. I'd leave my role as sales head for the film studio I served for 17 years and made a leap to move our family from LA to a small town in Texas called Dripping Springs. Okay, they keep saying it's a small town. It's like a suburb of Austin, Texas. Relax. You're like in the most liberal part of the state. All right, May 30th, 2018 was my last day in a suit. Final day knowing how to do my job well for a while. It was the first big identity shock of the journey. The next day, the Hollis company was born. Oh, I guess because it was Chic Media before that. Okay, so when he came on, it became the Hollis company. Okay. It was the first big identity shock on the journey. The next day, the Hollis company was born. The mission, place resources in people's hands to help them have a better life. Big, simple mission. We do it by trying to serve an amazing community on the regular, at first with Rachel's work, and over time with a portfolio of voices in podcasts, coaching, live events, and more, including mine. Okay? As much as I was terrified at the beginning in a world I knew little about, it was a rocket ship of an adventure that would see the unimaginable come to pass. Okay, again with the rocket ship metaphor. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing people's comments about what the big shock was, what was born in the surprise. It could be this. I think this would have a big impact on me if I was in his shoes. So that could definitely be it, Gray Rock 7, that Rachel announced she announced the miscarriage. She didn't announce the pregnancy. Which I forget when that was. Hold on. Let's look up when that was. Let's take a pause. I need a break anyways from reading that. I need to like refresh my brain because reading ain't easy when Dave is the writer. I will say. And also, I've already, it's too late now, but trigger warning, this is going to be, dealing with Rachel's baby loss. Okay, so she posted this December 16th. So maybe he did find out about it, that it was around the same time. That would have tracked. December 16th, 2021. So, okay, that kind of makes sense. I mean, he already had Pancake Gate, and then I guess New Year's would have been after that. So he started drinking possibly because of all the culmination of things. Who knows? But okay, that was interesting that the timing is sort of on track with what he's saying. It's a good point. But yes, I also think it could just be him not getting that deep and just saying like, my book didn't sell that well. My book didn't sell 1 million trillion copies. It didn't. Okay. Yeah, so now we're on Rockets, Seeds of Trauma, running. No more ships. Ships are out. Ships are gone. That's the only thing you can count on not being a part of the future moving forward because he got bullied too much. Okay. So, big books, full arenas, a movie in theaters, a morning show nobody talked about, and the most incredible community where I'll bet many of us met. The 4-person team who wore every hat in a tiny space with questionable air conditioning grew into a full-size crew in our church-turned-office. And we did good work that impacted lives, and everyone lived happily ever after. The end. Okay. Well, not so much. 2 years to the day of last wearing a suit would be the last day I'd wear a wedding ring. Damn. Okay. That sucks. Divorce had come knocking, though it wasn't expected in town. A rug pull moment in life that brought with it a heap of pain for everyone involved. It was an even bigger identity shock in round 2 for a person who identified himself first as husband to her and ushered in a new chapter with wildly more questions than answers. The sadness and surprise of the news was felt as much by me as I'm sure it was many of you, and even though it was impossibly hard to consider it as the right and best thing at the time, time has shown it to be both. Dave, come on. Don't make me read this anymore. Basically, what I believe he's saying there is that he didn't, well, obviously we know he did not expect a divorce. Now, whether you're in the camp that believes that, where he was caught off guard because Rachel made it seem like they had an amazing relationship online, so maybe she made it seem like they had a really amazing relationship in their house, or the other camp where he's delusional himself too, where he thinks that he can do no wrong and she had told him a million times that they had issues and he's not listening. I tend to fall more in the first camp, where I think that, maybe she was telling him, you need to do better, but he had literally left Disney to work for her company. He was becoming a self-help influencer. He was talking to personal development people. So I don't know which, she's like, oh, he's not growing. Like, how much more do you want him to do, I guess? Now, I'm not saying he's a good person or like that he, was a good husband. I don't know. But from what she explained in interviews about if you're not growing, you're dying. And my husband was, not growing, and he didn't want to be into personal development, but he got it. He did it eventually. So I don't know what else was missing. They didn't share that part with me. With me, viewer at home, loner, loser, viewer. So, yeah. So, I don't know. Which camp are you guys in? Let me know. Let's get some engagement, guys. No, you don't have to say it if you don't want, or if you don't want to. No pressure to communicate in this chat. But I do, I tend to be in that camp. Some people think no, men in general, or Dave specifically as well, they need to be told a million times, or they've been told a million times, and they just don't get it. So I could also see that being true, but I tend to think the first one's more true, just because they had a literal marriage conference about relationships, and I saw the post from just a couple weeks before they announced the divorce, and it was very lovey-dovey, very much we make out on the regular. We are so strong. We are so great. So it's almost are you deceptive, or are you not telling the truth, Rachel? Because she would post stuff oh, we're so great. We're so great. And then, whatever. Anyways, okay, back to Dave. All right. Okay. But at the beginning, it was just hard. Divorce is the worst for everyone. Public divorce didn't make it any more fun. A divorce that leaves a community that you've loved so much also reeling in sadness, mixed with justifiable frustration, some even anger, ... devastating. Again, not acknowledging why people are mad and angry, but okay. The emotions I connected with most in the beginning of that journey of rebuilding were rejection and fear. Ego telling stories of how it must have looked to have someone decide to move on. Ego telling stories of how it must have looked to have someone decide to move on. I don't know what that means. Scarcity, exaggerating the scale of how I'd never get back to normal now that I'd left Disney and had the thing I left for, what I thought was the mission of the rest of my life, now a thing of my past as well. This is how reading his book was. And he wonders why the fuck no one bought it. Okay, sorry. I'm being dramatic, but that's not a good sentence. Okay, here we go again. This is the same thing Rachel says too, down to the example about the soccer player playing soccer. she uses the same example. So I don't know if he took it from her or she took it from him, but they use it the same. It's like they had the same parents growing up, which is obviously not true because Dave seems to have much of a more stable environment to grow up in. Rachel at least claims that she had a very unstable, unsafe, crazy, they bought me a jacket from Sears and a box cake life. So, but whatever. She did have a trauma when she was a teen, 14 years old. So that is traumatic regardless of how the upbringing actually was. So I'll give her that credit. This is Dave. Growing up, there was something in achievement that was my access to being loved. If I could get good grades or memorize the most Bible verses or score the most goals in soccer, I'd be seen as good. And in that good, light be loved. Okay, this needs a couple commas too would help as well. It worked wonders when it helped me build a career, grow a company, get brave enough to try and create my own work inside the space of a prolific creator with whom I'd been married. Oh my God. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry in advance. I gotta reread this again. I need to literally highlight it as I go because otherwise I'm gonna miss words. Okay. It worked wonders when it helped me build a career, grow a company, get brave enough to try and create my own work inside the space of a prolific creator with whom I had been married. But of course, there's two sides to that sword. In the aftermath of divorce, the scared little boy inside started running as fast as he could to show that he was still lovable, even if he was no longer a president. Even as he was no longer a husband, without the air cover of a company he helped build, to prove to those in the community that were frustrated that he still meant well. And run I did. Okay, so we have rocket ships, now we got the running. And I said that. I said he missed out on an opportunity with Built Through Courage to use a running analogy, and here we are. Okay, just want to point that out every time. At first, the running of the next year produced so many amazing things. I ran myself into my best shape ever. That's what he says. He was pretty puffy. He was pretty puffy back in 2021 era. He was getting bulky. And I guess that is good. You can lift more weights, but I think personally, he looks thinner now, but he looks healthier now still. Like he didn't look good back then, but whatever. Ran to God in a way that brought me closer than I'd ever been. Ran into a relationship with Heidi that showed new and amazing facets of love. Okay, what, like powder, meat sticks, teeth whitening codes? Okay, sorry. Maybe they have a wonderful relationship. Ran to writing my next book, and in Built Through Courage, my proudest professional accomplishment. How can he say that? How can he say that Built Through Courage was his proudest professional accomplishment? All of it was bullshit. All of it, he said how amazing he was doing, how great he was post-divorce, how Heidi was great, his friends were great, he's overcome everything. It's all lies. He just said that 2 sentences up, that it was all a lie. So the seeds were sown, but you're still proud of them? It's not even real. Okay. In all of the running, I was becoming more, and also, okay, sorry. The other part of the book that wasn't talking about how amazing he was doing from the divorce was how many rich, famous people he's met over the years. I met Dan Rather on a plane. I met The Rock. I talked one time to Steven Spielberg on the phone. That's the book that you're proud of? You're humble bragging? It's not even humbly. He's just bragging in a book about himself. That's what you're proud of? Obviously, yes, but come on. It wasn't, Grapes of Wrath here that you produced. Dave. Okay. In all the running, I was becoming more and more confident in who I was and why I was here, but I never really stopped to ask why I was running. So basically, he says that everything that he did turned out well. He got to be with Heidi. He produced so many amazing things. He got into the best shape ever. He's got a better relationship with God. But the real problem is none of that. Nothing like that went wrong. The problem was he didn't understand why he was running. So that's why he's taking a step back. It's like you got too quickly into a relationship with a unstable woman. Sorry, true. he got really puffy and was an alcoholic, as he just said above, and now has forgotten about again. The book didn't sell because it's not a good book. What else? That's it. And God, I don't know. That's his own personal relationship with God. So I just hate that that's a very Rachel Hollis thing of him to do. To like name, like say like, I messed up, but everything turned out great. It's like, so what's the point of this? If everything turned out great, why are you saying like, oh, I regret so many things? It's like, it doesn't sound like you do at all. Okay, anyways, he was running, or what I was running from. Okay, so I just kept going to a children's book about tea time and a documentary to storytell how amazing I was getting back up. I was at getting back up. I mean, it's good, but I see it now. Again, the documentary was good. Why didn't you release it then? And the tea time book didn't come out yet. Okay, so these are all the things that didn't happen, I guess. Okay, let's recap. To a children's book about tea time and a documentary to storytell how amazing I was at getting back up. I mean, it's good, but I see it now. I'd do a men's conference and a fitness challenge, and I'd show everyone how lovable and unrejectable and smart I still was for leaving Disney. Yeah, sometimes, Dave, people just make mistakes. People just fuck up. It's true. And then you gotta live with it. You don't gotta write a book to redeem yourself. I just need to keep going long enough, and surely I'd convince you of a thing I didn't actually believe myself. Again, why? At least he acknowledged the men's conference. That's a new thing he hasn't acknowledged in quite a while. Okay. That seed had been, back to seeds now, back to seed analogies. That seed that had been planted back in May of 2020 popped through the ground in October of 2021 when it came time to confirm press for my second book. Outlets pulled back. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they were ever interested. I think your PR team lied to you and said, oh yeah, we have all this stuff. And then they didn't actually book anything because no one was actually interested. Like Dave who? Dave Hollister? Whenever I put in YouTube, Dave Hall, it's like auto-corrects to Hollister every single time. Like Dave Hollis doesn't even register. I know that sounds sad, but it's true. It's accurate. I don't even know who Dave Hollister is, but still, I can't search Dave Hollis and actually find him. Okay. Okay, when it came time to confirm press for my second book, outlets pulled back in the aftermath of the rocket ship breaking apart and falling back to Earth. I don't know, again, what he's referencing there, other than he got divorced and has no expertise on what the hell he was talking about. No tour for you. Against the backdrop of pre-orders at a fraction of my first release, that same insecurity in the days after divorce leveled up and took the wheel. I just needed to run faster, work harder, push more. I wasn't achieving enough, despite the amazing efforts of Heidi helping me scramble to build a tour and the beautiful feedback from my early readers. I could only hear one voice, one loud, mean voice. You know what I think? I think he just should have not done the tour and just called it a day and said, the press is canceled. I did 1,000 podcast episodes in Mexico when I'm supposed to be relaxing with my girlfriend. And instead I'm panic, doing press on these podcasts with 200 followers. Why don't you just say, you know what? I'm tired. This book probably is too soon anyways. I just give up. And then just accept that. Heidi pushing you to travel to Denver, to Memphis, or wherever he went, to Austin, and do it with no sleep was not a good idea. He keeps crediting her she's so amazing for helping me. It's that's not advice that I would want to take from somebody. Oh, you had something happen? Let's just go completely insane. That's a good idea. I'll help you schedule insanity for the next 4 days. I mean, I get what he's saying. Someone just I was panicked and someone offered to help in the way that they could. But he calls her a personal development expert as someone who is supposed to be above us all. Oops. Above us all in this spiritual realm and this self-help world. It would be hey, not everyone's perfect. Relax, rest, Don't hustle. Anti-hustle. And that's not what we got. Anyways. That seed... Wait. Okay, I did that right. You don't deserve to be here. Your success in this space was only because of your proximity to her. Okay, this is going to be a harsh but true statement. That's true, Dave. You're in this. You're talking about self-help as if you have accomplished something in your life that makes you above other people. Able, because you are so accomplished, to give people advice on their life, not business. If he would have wrote a business book, How I Became the Disney Exec book, that would have been a totally different story. I probably would have never talked about him. I'd be like, oh, he's qualified for that, for sure. He got to the top of Disney World. He's at the top of the castle. He's at the top of the Walt Disney Company. That is quite impressive. Yet he chose to write a book about how great he was doing after the divorce. Come on. You don't deserve to write that book. And if you do deserve to write the book, fine, but you deserve not to sell it. Or people deserve not to buy it. So I'm sorry, I know he's trying to say, like, this is a lie, a limiting belief I told myself. It's like, no, it's actually the truth. And I think he has a bit of truth in his head. That's why he says, like, these thoughts kept permeating me. It's like, yeah, because they're probably true, and you want to believe them deep, deep, deep down, but you have people like Heidi around who aren't good people. Well, I shouldn't say she's not a good person, but aren't good people around you when you need to see clearly. See the clarity of the situation. She's going to be like hyping you up. Like she hypes her parents up all the time. And it's like, but she explains about her parents. They gave her money for not eating junk food. And they wanted them to do push-ups and stuff all the time. Like that doesn't seem very healthy. But she's like, oh, they were the best parents ever. It's like, you don't have to have the best everything always. Stuff can be bad. You can't be perfect and honest. You can't. Anyways, okay. Now I'm just like blah, blah, blahing. And so I worked myself into an unrecognizable, embarrassing, broken down state. Desperate to sell a thing I was so proud of to quiet the voices. Grasping at anything to try and show people who weren't even watching that I was worthy of their love as measured in making a list, the number of copies sold. Ego, self-doubt, and fear joined forces, and in it ruined the all the good of the release. Ruined by my believing in them instead of believing in myself. I'm glad he's at least acknowledging that he was desperate to sell and that he was grasping just to try to feed his ego, because that's what it was, so it seems. But the last part, instead of believing in myself, it's like you can believe in yourself while also admitting you made a mistake. You can believe in you as a person, that you believe that you have talents and gifts and things that you can offer, but it doesn't have to be the thing that you messed up on. You don't have to delude yourself and be like, no, that book was amazing. It just could be a bad book. I've made videos and I'm like, at the time I put it out, I'm like, oh, this is great. And then it doesn't do well. And I watch it back and I'm like, this video actually wasn't that great. And I need to work on it for next time. I can see why people didn't love it. It's like, but I'm not like, I'm the worst person ever to walk the face of the earth and I'm going to convince people of it otherwise. Like, that's the thing I think that he's not quite grasping even in this recounting of events. I'm appreciating the honesty compared to the Built Through Courage honesty of, yeah, I was really sad for 1 hour and then I got over it. Look at my new girlfriend. I made a picture of her right here. Okay, as my last book came out, I found out what I was running from. Running from a shadow. Running from a question back then of where I fit next to her, to whether I now fit at all. Trying to outrun the pain that existed in marriage and divorce. November and December gave way to darkness. Now the worst things in my head weren't only playing there, but echoed as confirmation bias availed itself online. Okay, so this is where I think he's talking about the Reddit thread and videos like the ones you see right here on Kia's World. So basically he had confirmation bias because he had all the feelings allegedly that I had, or some of the feelings at least. And so he went to look at the content that confirmed those feelings. is that a bad thing? He's making it seem like, oh my God, like the negative people are the worst. The bullies are the worst. Like they made me have these dark thoughts. It's like, maybe because you weren't admitting it to yourself, like, hey, I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe not that we're all horrible people. Maybe you were onto something and there's something better for you than forcing yourself down this embarrassing path. He's an accomplished person. Like, I don't know. It's getting worse, like, the more he shares. All right. Okay. Let's see. The wee minority waiting for me to trip over my own feet had their dreams come true when I handed it to them, bow on top. In their celebrating in my breaking, I confirmed me as broken. And the only question was, how dark does this place get? Okay, so more blame pushed on to the negative forces, aka I'm assuming myself, because he did reference YouTube videos and probably the other people who create content about him and the Hollis company in general. But again, it's like they were waiting for me to trip over my feet and their dreams came true. It's like all we were doing at that time was being realistic and saying like, yeah, someone traveling that much can't really be healthy at this point. Someone working this hard probably should just take an L and move on to something else. So weren't we right though? Like, you could have relaxed. You wouldn't have to go through this. Again, it's like he's putting the blame in the wrong place. Like, the real person I think that he should blame is Heidi and himself. Because who was right in the end? We were. Didn't work out. He should have like taken a step back. She's saying like, and she reposted the Pancake Gate. Once again, she posted his rant, you know, not feeding Noah, him telling people to unfollow them if they don't buy the book. She's like, this is the most real Dave has ever been, the most genuine and funny Dave has ever been. It's like, so she supports that version of you. She did that back then, at least. Again, I think he's like a little bit in denial about like how the role of Heidi in this whole scenario. Okay, it wasn't a fun Q4, friends. I needed help. Great. So I went to a treatment facility for mental health and addiction in January, sad and scared, embarrassed and filled with shame, dreading the conversations I'd need to have with my kids, with Heidi, with Rachel. Each were beautifully received, understood and supported, proud of me, a thing I hadn't been of myself for a while. Okay, great. But then later on he says, or like, well, not in this, but he also said, Heidi was mad because I had inconvenienced her. She made it very clear on the podcast that she was pissed off at him for going, but like understood, but was mad and was angry and broke up with him over it, basically, which, okay, that doesn't sound fair. And Rachel made a whole ass podcast about his double life. So again, like, are these people your supporters or are they just people who you know? I don't know. Okay, we still almost at the end, sort of. But in heading into a thing I knew nothing about, to handle everything that comes with confronting the unconfronted for 8 straight weeks, it's among the best and most important decisions I've made as an adult. I waded through the things I'd been running from, sat naked with them for weeks on end, normalized feeling, tears on the daily. He was crying before, but okay. Met with the most skilled professionals who helped me see things I'd never seen before. It's amazing when professionals get involved. It helps you, Dave. Sorry. With each day, there was more understanding. An invitation in group sessions to come as you are in a way that allowed me for the first time to see the parts of me that I'd hated and invite them into the room in a way that gave me a chance at self-love. With each weekend trip back to see the kids... Oh, okay, here's a little... I didn't catch this earlier either. With each weekend trip back to see the kids, more conversations, mostly with the older boys who were ready, diving into the details of what it means to be a messy human... destigmatizing getting help when you need it. Okay, so he's saying he went back each weekend to be with his kids. He did go at least one weekend to see Heidi and Heidi's kids, so, because she posts everything on Instagram. But that's interesting because Rachel made it seem like she had the kids full time. She did not say he was coming back on weekends. She was like, I'm a full-time mom. My partner, my ex-husband is unavailable right now. She made it very clear that, like, no, I'm the one having to do all this all the time. Okay. Again, who's supportive here? Rachel? Not so much. Those 8 weeks in LA have given way to a little more than 8 weeks back home. It's been 8 weeks of taking things intentionally slow, deliberately present with my people, and continuing the work that was started in this year of a reset. Another reset. This time, not a shock, but an invitation to sit back and allow space for what's coming next. Resisting the temptation to start running again. The identity I'm growing into isn't fully formed. Why don't you just have a normal identity? Why do you have to grow an identity? Why don't you just be a person? Be a human, as you say, Dave. Just you don't have to grow into any sort of identity. But at least it feels like the foundation from which it's built on is stronger than it's been in a long, long time. I'm on a mental health and recovery journey that will require attention and maintenance for the rest of my life. Good. I'm glad he's saying that. I've never been so aware of how much I don't know yet, but I do know that I want to continue walking into rooms, into communities that allow me to just be me. You know what community that would have been? Ours. The hater community. We would have preferred you to be yourself. This guy who's proud of every single messy part of who I am and allow that imperfect work in progress to be seen and loved as is. No matter if I make another thing or not. No matter if anything I ever create sells a single copy. Wonderful. That's a good sentiment. Okay. I don't know if this is how blogs to a community are supposed to go. If this is a good way to stay connected or not. Whether you liked it or thought it word salad, maybe me telling you all the things about the imperfect way that I've been and still am human makes you feel a little more normal with the ridiculous ways you end up being human sometimes too. I promise the next emails and blogs will actually have something to make you laugh too. I mean, I am still me. I don't find him funny, but okay. If you're going through a dark period, I would encourage you to believe that there's light at some point in this journey for you too. If you've made mistakes that you don't think you'll recover from, I'm here to say that some of my biggest mistakes have turned out to literally save my life. I know it would be nice to not have to learn things the hard way or grow through pain. I get that being human can suck sometimes. But also, if you're going through it, you're not alone. We all got things. Not everyone, though, can afford 8 weeks outpatient and fly back and forth from California to Texas to see your kids, but okay, we're all the same. We're way more similar than we are different in a way that makes me pretty sure I see a little of myself in you in the same way I hope you see a little of humanity in me. Okay, but if I buy your book, I can find a job, right? Because you're better than me. Because you know better, right? Because I'll read your book and get a job. Okay, sorry. At the end of the day, I quote, okay, this quote he made up that got some attention online will never die. At the end of the day, a quote I dropped in early 2020 when I didn't yet know how much it might mean comes back into play today. Quote, in the rush to return to normal, let's use this time to consider what parts of normal are worth rushing back to. I think I will. I'll let you know when I figure it out, if I ever do. Between now and then, here's to all the good ahead. Sending love to you, my friends. I appreciate you. Thank you for your continued support. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. XO, Dave. Okay, and of course, Dave has not just one postscript. He's got two postscript. Because this nightmare will never end. Okay, so basically, I don't have to read this all, but basically he's saying that Okay, let's just read it. Fuck. Okay, sorry. One of the worst parts of November and December was that so much of me struggling was done alone. Yes, I have the most incredible support system, like I'm sure many of you do, but not everybody, okay? But still my shame and my fear kept me from fully sharing all of what it was to feel what I was feeling. Taking a step to get help and talking honestly about what I'm working through has turned every ounce of shame I carried into power. Getting help is one of the things I'll be proudest of for the rest of my life. I'm so glad, Dave, but once again, rehab ain't cheap for the rest of us, for most of us. I'm sure a lot of people would love to go to rehab but cannot afford it. I mean, I'm not saying he has to, atone for that, but like, it's not just like everyone just needs to just go. It's like, yeah, a lot of people want to go and can't. If you're struggling, there's help. Asking for it doesn't make you weak. In fact, it's one of the greatest signs of strength. If you're looking for a sign, this is your sign. It's time to get some help. Tired of being tired, done carrying it alone, then this is your sign. I've added some resources below if you're ready or in need. And if you're doing well, reach out and check on someone you haven't talked to in a bit and see how they're doing. Your call may be the one they really need today. Resources, okay, National Association of Mental Illness Helpline, and then the website. If you're interested in learning more about mental health or addiction-related oh my God, he's got us sponsored. Okay, I get it now, Dave, I get it. You're gonna help your friend get hooked up. You're gonna tell people like, look, rehab changed my life. Now, specifically, my friend at this one rehab center will change your life too. Oh, I wonder if he got to go for free. That would be the biggest irony of all, that he would go for free so that he can now write his blog where he sends people to Cast, the center that he went to, where his friend, who he had interviewed on the podcast pre-rehab, can make profit from you taking care of your issues. Yeah. I think going to rehab is a good idea, but I think it's funny that he's using the exact number, I don't know, the exact one, his friend that he knows. This is where I find it to be unethical. It crosses so many, it goes from like, black and white, like, okay, here's a national hotline. I'm glad he put that in there, but then this just makes me feel icky. If you're interested in learning more about mental health or addiction-related treatment, what it's like, if it's for you, reach out to Robert at Cast, and he can tell you about where I went to dive into my work. And if it's not the right fit, can help direct you to something that might fit better. So if you can't afford it, they'll help you out. Which, okay, I'm glad that he's putting that there. But again, hashtag ad? Question mark. PPS. I'm not making this up. PPS. Of all the things that are next for me in the short term, I'm working with some amazing organizations who are serving others well, and I want to tell you about one in the hopes you'll support them with me, National Angels. As any of you who've been here from the beginning know, foster care is very near and dear to my heart. He didn't talk about foster care in years, by the way. Built Their Courage, no foster care mentioned. I shouldn't say that. I don't recall any foster care mentioned during that period of time. I've been witness to the tragedy and trauma that exists in the system from personal experience in 2016. His own trauma, not the children's, because they went home to their actual, whatever. I've seen firsthand the heartbreak that comes in kids moving from house to house, the scared faces as they enter a new, strange place, the way love works so powerfully to help soothe their pain. And Scout and Birdie, who blessed our house as we prepared for what we believe would be a foster to adoption journey, and Atticus and Elliot, the newborn twins, with a link, who came in and unexpectedly out of our lives because of cracks in that system. The crack in the system, once again, was that the father, I believe, the father of the children came back into the picture, or came into the picture for the first time. Is that really a crack in the system, or is that how the system's supposed to work? Okay. I read this last time. So he's asking you to send money. He's going to match up to $25,000 of donations. So give money, because he'll give more money, which I appreciate. Can't hate on that. So Yeah, that's quite a long thing. I think he's again trying to like recover his image. It's like, bro, just give up. Like, actually believe that your image in this world does not matter. Nobody actually cares in reality. Like, he could go live a normal life and I will never care again. I don't even care now, really. It's just, I'm so interested in the saga now that I feel compelled to continually update myself and continually update you. Because this channel is built for more. Built through courage, made for more.